1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Hey, yep. 1, 2, 2, 2. One, two, 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 two. Two, two, two. Hello.
Hello, hello. How loud is this? Hello. I don't is we can hear. Hello, hello. Okay, I can hear myself. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Tonight is the March 27th meeting of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. We'll begin by doing a call of the roll to establish our quorum. Commissioner Gottlieb, Commissioner Driver, Commissioner Minor, Commissioner Ruby Navarijo, Commissioner Terry is present, Commissioner Wortham. With 4 of the 7 members of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability present, we have a quorum and we can conduct the commission's business. The next item of business is public comment. If you would have liked to share comment, you would have submitted a document like this index card or this sheet of paper prior. We were able to randomize a selection of 10 comments. You also can leave public comment via email by emailing Community Commission for Public Comment at cityofchicago.org, or you can bring a copy of your comment to one of the commission's public meetings and give it to someone on the commission or someone on the commission staff. People who wanted to speak during the public period tonight were asked to submit their names in writing. If your name is called to offer public comment, we ask that you approach the microphone and line up in the order in which your name is called. When it's your turn to speak, please say your name, then spell your name, then offer your comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. We have allotted a total of 10 minutes for public comment. So our first speaker this evening will be District Councilor Aaron Vogel.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. My name is Erin Vogel. I am a district counselor from Chicago's 9th Police District. I want to echo the sentiments that I shared at last Tuesday's listening session in my district to call upon all the work that the Freedom Move Coalition has done to end discriminatory traffic stops in the city of Chicago. People's lives are at stake. Not only is this perpetuating trauma, specifically in our Black and Brown communities, but traffic stops are not good business for the city of Chicago's police department. It is like fishing, right? How many more people need to get pulled over? How much more harm do we need to see inflicted on our communities? There are really tangible steps that I'm happy to give you a flyer. My colleague Dion shared step plans of what we can do. Pretextual traffic stops are harming the work that us district counselors are here and for what the commission is here for. So I say all this to say that I really want you as a commission to feel this moment, and maybe surveys don't show the numbers of like the community who's really calling for this to end. but to feel in your bodies the trauma, and again, the harm that has been placed and inflicted upon our communities for decades, centuries, right? Um, the community is calling for this. They gathered signatures, they've pushed this to the commission, but my ask for you all is to proceed with empathy and compassion from those who have been most impacted by discriminatory traffic stops, and to really put forward put forward some real policy that's going to create systems of healing instead of systems that harm. And I would really ask that you include the community's voice in whatever you're putting together. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. So I'll call the next three speakers just so we can keep everyone going. Maurice Woodard, Toby Guillory, Joey. Okay. Kaisha Smith.
Am I good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Maurice Woodard, Maurice, Maurice, Woodard, Woodard. I'm here with the Free to Move Coalition. I organize with Equity and Transformation on the west side of Chicago. And we strongly believe there needs to be an end to pretextual traffic stops. They aren't safe for the community. They put people in harm. From my personal experience, they're really a waste of time. As a young Black man, right, I have dreads in my hair. Often people get the wrong perception of me. So too many times, right, I've been pulled over for, hey, you went past that stop sign too fast. Who's to say that, right? Or, hey, your plate is expired. Things that aren't hurting anyone. No one's going to die because of this, right? But that leads me to the situation where the police can now get me out of my car, harass me. Do you have a gun? Looks like there's a gun in here. You look like you might have one. And quite frankly, I've never owned a gun in my life. And for our city to be based as a progressive city, one that's on the forefront of things, right? We are protective of our people. It's quite frankly embarrassing that that's happened to me more in Chicago than it did in Indiana. So I think it's crucial that as a commission, as a people that are here for the people, here for the community, we need to know where you all stand on this. So for the commissioners that haven't, I believe Mr. Driver, Ms. Terry, please, we would like to know where you all stand so the people know who's with us, who supports us as we're moving around this. Because as a community commission, you should be here for the voice of the people, right? And there are a lot of people here behind us and a lot of people on paper who believe that these need to end. They aren't good for the community, and the community needs a voice and how we are policed. Not even getting into all that of like how they shouldn't be around at all, let alone this is, I believe, an easy fix for you all that's right in your face, that the support is there in the petition, in the numbers. And yeah, it needs to be done. Let's put an end to these pretextual traffic stops. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Kobe Guillory. I am a middle school science teacher, a member of CTU, also a member of the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. And I want to thank the commissioners for the work that y'all have done so far. Specifically, you know, I can't say enough how crucial it is that this commission eliminated the use of the gang database. Now, the reason that we're here today, many of us who are wearing orange today, is to eliminate another tool of terrorism rather than public safety. Just like the gang database, the pretextual traffic stops are tools of terrorizing Black and brown communities that do not keep people safe. There's a whole lot of information on this flyer over here and from the Free to Move Coalition about exactly how traffic stops are a threat to the lives and the safety of people in Black and brown communities. And we need to end those stops. That is why the community is here. That's why all these people have mobilized out here today. And I also want to say that As much as we can push these policies that, for example, would have saved the life of Dexter Reed if they were not doing traffic stops. The ultimate goal that we need to fight for is community control of the police. We need to empower the community to say what public safety looks like and who is keeping the community safe. Because right now we have all these people on the force that do not care about the community and in fact are antagonistic to the community. And so that is why there is a referendum in city council, and I'm saying this to the people behind me, first and foremost. You need to call your alderperson, tell them to support the community power over policing referendum. We need that power in the community. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kaisha Smith, 10th District Council. Not only am I 10th District Council, I'm also a community member. And I too have been a victim of illegal or pretextual traffic stops. There was a time when my boyfriend at the time was driving, we got pulled over, and an officer said he rubbed me up and down, touched private parts that he had no business touching, and said if I gave him my number, he'll let my boyfriend go. There was a time when clearly kids are out playing. About 5 officers jumped out on one 10-year-old boy for outside playing with a toy gun while there were 911 calls. If you all remember the Trinity situation, they were calling for help. And instead of going to that situation, they were harassing a 10-year-old. So I stand with the ceasing of pretextual stops. We need our officers to be available for more emergency crimes when things are happening where they should arrive at the scene sooner rather than later, instead of harassing individuals for simple stops, simple things as if a license plate crooked, but it's visual. A license plate with a cover on it. I got pulled over because my license plate had a cover on it, but you can still read the plate and the lights were working, reflecting on the plate. So I think that I feel like you all should agree to end pretextual stops like other states do for all of our safety.
The next speakers are Kyle Lucas, Esther Block, David Teagham. Point of order. Thank you. This is not outside. We want to be respectful of everyone that's inside. You all had your time outside to communicate that. And then even after this meeting, you can continue that. But I do ask that you respect this space and respect these speakers at the mic. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Kyle Lucas. I'm the Executive Director of Better Street Chicago. And as a member of the Free to Move Coalition, I will actually continue to communicate the message that was just halted. So we've been here, we've been talking about this. You all have seen the data. The Chicago Police Department is out of control. There is no other police department in the United States of America that are pulling people over at the rates like they are in this city. And it has to stop. My organization fights every single day to ensure that our streets are safe for people because we believe that safe streets ensure that our communities can thrive. Pretextual traffic stops have nothing to do with safety. It's in the definition. We are talking about pulling people over under the pretext of something completely different than traffic safety. We're not talking about pulling people over for running a red light. We're not talking about pulling people over for speeding. We are talking about pulling people over under the suspicion of something that they can't even begin to tell by just looking at a car. It is stop and frisk. And stop and frisk was supposed to end back in 2014, and it's happening still today. It has to end. And we are tired of just the hemming and hawing from this commission, from the Chicago Police Department, and frankly, from City Council and from the mayor's office. It's time to get this done. It's time to craft a policy with the community, and it's time to end this injustice. End pretextual traffic stops today.
Hello, my name is Esther Block, ESTHER, BLOCH. I help to write the ordinance and know how important this work is. I also have loved ones who have been killed by gun violence in Chicago. I have many loved ones who have been harassed day after day after day after day by CPD, whether it be traffic stops, whether it be walking down the street. There's so much important work for you all to do, right? That's why we came up with the commission, because policing has to change in Chicago. You all need to work on policy to change policing in Chicago. And what worries me is the last two regular meetings that I was at, what people were talking about when they were leaving the meeting and afterwards was the communication between commissioners. And that really detracts from the work you're doing, from not having conversation about the public should be coordinating to fight back against two ordinances that are in city council right now, one to shut down COPA, one to decrease the number of district council members. And instead, because of the problems with communication at these meetings, that's what people are walking away talking about. It's distracting. You guys work too hard. The work that there's so much work that needs to be done. I'm just asking that you take a step back and that you figure out a way. Of course, you can differ and express your differences, but not in a way that it takes away from all of the work that you're doing. It's just too important, and this city needs change. We need to focus on that. People need to leave these meetings pumped up to support you, because I know it's hard work. You guys work hard, and it's hard and it's frustrating. The public wants to support you. We need to work together. So please make it so we're pumped up and can help you, and not talking about differences that you might have. And protectional traffic stops have to end. Thank you.
Hey y'all, David Tiegman, D-A-V-I-D, Tiegman, T as in Tom, E-E-G-H-M-A-N. My name is David Tiegman, and I'm the executive committee chair for the Sierra Club here in Chicago. I'm also a decade-long resident of Garfield Park on the west side. Sierra Club is one of the nation's oldest and largest grassroots environmental organizations, and our transportation work here in Chicago focuses on making our city more walkable, bikeable, and transit forward through safer streets for everyone. And that's why we're here to say tonight, hell no to pretextual stops. Chicago streets are incredibly dangerous to vulnerable road users like myself and my Garfield Park neighbors who don't own a car and rely on walking, biking, and mass transit to get around our city. I know how dangerous our streets are firsthand as a survivor of traffic violence that hospitalized me for nearly a week and almost cost me my left arm. Our streets are dangerous, but pretextual stops are not the answer here, because police do not keep us safe. We keep us safe. Road designs that center people, not cars, keep us safe. A lower speed limit keeps us safe. Speed cameras at dangerous intersections keep us safe. But no, more police stopping more cars with more pretextual stops in more Black and brown communities does not keep us safe. We are actually less safe on the street when the Chicago Police Department uses pretextual stops as the new stop and frisk, because we know that these stops are some of the most dangerous encounters between community members and the police that is supposed to protect and serve them. If you actually want to make our streets safer for pedestrians, cyclists, CTA riders, and car drivers, let's invest in the things that do actually that we know work. Street designs that center people and not cars, a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, and speed cameras at dangerous intersections, not pretextual stops. Thank you.
Thanks. Our last three speakers: Gregory Mann, W. Robert Schultz III, Maya Simpkin.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Mann. That's Gregory. Last name is Mann. I'm here with Equity and Transformation and Free to Move. I'm not going to be long. I'm going to tell you some lifelong stories real quick. I heard the young man Maurice speak. I think that was so eloquent, don't you? He really expressed what it is to be a young man and being stopped. Well, I experienced that 30, 40 years ago and still experiencing it right now today. I'm a ballot driver. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I still get pulled over for some of the most ridiculous things you will ever imagine. I was pulled over once for just pulling out from my house, but didn't use a signal to go onto the street. From the curb to the street, where the street and curb was right there together. I never really had any bad encounter. I'm not here to bash the police. I'm not here to tear them down. I am to tear down the racism, the prefectural stops, the racial profiling, the things that they do in our community, and we know it happens. There's no way you can sit there and know it doesn't happen. It has happened to you or someone in your family, a neighbor, or someone's close to you. So we know it happened. And all I'm saying that I believe in you. I think you will do the right thing. I think you will vote your heart and your mind. You know that we are your constituents. We are your major concern. And you are our concern. That's why we keep you in office. That's why we work with you, because we believe truly, I do, that you're here for us, that you're going to make a difference, that you're going to stop these stops. You're going to not give these individuals, these officers who are not representing the entire force, this power to continue to be racist, to continue to pull over motorists for no apparent reason other than they just don't want to see them driving or just want to feel like they can get a gun out the car or something. I've had them turn around on me on 75th from King down to Cottage Grove and watch them make a U-turn just to get behind me. I pull over. I pull over because I know you're ready to throw the lights on. And I shouldn't feel like that at 64.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm W. Robert Schultz III. That's W period ROBERT SCHULTZ the third. I'm with the Active Transportation Alliance. The Active Transportation Alliance was one of the founding organizations of the Free to Move Coalition. I'm here for many of the same reasons my colleagues have expressed. Every time I've been able to be in front of this commission, I had to remind you that over 20 years ago, Amnesty International did reports on Chicago and other cities. I was instrumental in making that report happen. And we called for an end to pretextual traffic stops. I stand here 20 years later, and we still haven't made any progress. I keep reminding you that the data shows that pretextual traffic stops do nothing for resolving crime, does nothing for traffic safety. It's time to end that practice. I won't take up any more time because I'll just be repeating myself. It's time for you guys to do the right thing and make a policy that is concrete and actionable and has some data points so we can see whether or not we're ending pretextual traffic stops in the city of Chicago.
Hey, y'all. My name is Maya Simkin, Mayyasimkin. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm a Hyde Park resident, and I'm here representing Chicago Appleseed Center for Fair Courts, a community-driven advocacy organization focused on injustices inherent to the legal system. We're also a part of Free to Move and are excited to carry on the advocacy work of reforming Chicago's traffic stop policy. The CCPSA was established to ensure that those most affected by public safety policies have a direct role in shaping them. We can't do that together when some commissioners haven't shared their stances. We really appreciate the fact that some of you have, though. The public deserves to know what commissioners are advocating for behind closed-door policy conversations. Issuing a policy proposal without consent or feedback from the community or getting it top-down from CPD would be a huge disservice to our work, to the work that we've all put in together.
What we want is a safer Chicago with effective resource use. We want police to stop wasting time and money on stops that don't make us any safer. With almost half of all traffic stops in 2023 being for minor licensing or registration violations rather than dangerous driving, we know that the resources are being wasted. Commissioner Gottlieb voiced last week that we should now move to figure out which stops can remain as carve-outs, and we want to be part of that process. If the city truly cared about people driving with broken lights, they could look at other jurisdictions, such as Minnesota, where they have found it is actually cheaper and more effective to automatically issue people vouchers for car repairs instead of tickets that keep the poverty cycle going and eroding trust with the police and putting people in dangerous situations. Instead, we find that officers use these stops to investigate people for completely unrelated activity. Consent searches should only happen when there is probable cause or reasonable suspicion with clear documentation. Right now, less than 1% of all traffic stops result in finding illegal contraband, showing how ineffective these searches are. When you're being fear-mongered by a poster board that has 20 photos of guns on it that have been confiscated, please remember that these are not guns that have actually discharged bullets. Remember that there's already over-prosecution of illegal gun possession, which does not target the root cause of violence. Anyway, we're really looking forward to getting a clear timeline and hearing some of your voices about this, and appreciate the chance to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've reached the end of public comment period, and a thank you again to all of our speakers this evening. We value your feedback, and I do want to just add to that, we invite you to complete our survey since there was a lot of comments about traffic stops. I invite you to complete that survey if you have not already. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes. Before today's meeting, draft minutes of the commission's meeting from February 27th were shared with all commissioners. Are there any corrections to the draft minutes that have been circulated? If there are no corrections, I move to approve the minutes. I've moved to approve, and both of you, okay. Commissioner Ruby Navarrijo has seconded the minutes. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor of adopting the motion to approve the minutes from our February 27th meeting, please say aye. Are there any opposed? The ayes have it and the motion passes. So now we're moving on to our new business. So our next order of business this evening will be new business, and it is approval of a series of closed meetings. Section 2C3 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act allows the commission to meet in closed session to consider the following subjects: the selection of a person to fill a public office as defined in this act, including a vacancy in public, when the public body is given power to appoint under law or ordinance, or the discipline, performance, or removal of the occupant of public office when the public body is given power to remove the occupant under law or ordinance. Section 2A of the Act authorizes the commission to take a vote to hold a series of closed meetings over the course of not more than 3 months from today, and only for the purposes cited under Section 2C3. Over the next few months, the commission may need to meet in closed session for the reasons that are allowed under the Open Meetings Act, including discussions about appointments and filling vacancies. I've moved to hold a series of closed meetings to take place for the maximum period allowable as authorized by Section 2C3 of the Open Meetings Act. Okay. So I've moved to hold a series of closed meetings to take place for the maximum period allowable as authorized by Section 2(3) of the Open Meetings Act. Commissioner Gottlieb has seconded it. Is there any debate on the motion? So those in favor of holding a series of closed meetings to take place for the maximum time period allowable as authorized by Section 2C3 of the Open Meetings Act, please signal by saying aye. Are there any nays? Okay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. The commission is authorized to hold a series of closed meetings to take place for the maximum time period allowable as authorized by Section 2C3 of the Open Meetings Act. Our next order of business is an amendment to public comment and decorum section of the bylaws. Prior to this meeting, all members of the commission received copies of this commission amendment. This amendment does a few things. It provides that public comment being given at the commission meetings must be limited to matters related to the business that is before the commission. Comments of a personal nature unrelated to the operations or business of the commission directed towards individual commissioners, employees of CCPSA, or any other individual are not permitted. It further provides that unauthorized remarks, stamping of feet, whistling, and similar demonstrations are prohibited during any meeting of the commission, and that during any meeting of the commission, people must not interrupt the commission's proceedings or comments of any person recognized by the chair in any manner, make profane, vulgar, threatening, abusive, disruptive, or slanderous remarks, engage in disruptive behavior, including disruptive or disrespectful conduct during others' presentations, engage in demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behavior and speech directed towards other, hold, wave, or display any banner or sign in a way that causes a physical hazard or blocks another person's view of the proceedings, refuse to follow the instructions of the chair or comply with these policies or any other rules governing the commission's proceedings. People who engage in behaviors prohibited by the amendment will be asked to cease engaging in conduct. If it continues, it will result in removal. The amendment also makes it clear that the commission must abide by Robert's Rules of Order in public meetings. The amendment also updates the public comment and decorum sections of the commission's bylaws. The full update will be available on our website if the vote to adopt this amendment prevails. Are there any questions from the commission?
So for a point of discussion on this, I just wanted to note that I do support and I understand why we are doing this. If the amendment passes today, though, I would encourage my fellow commissioners that perhaps we would consider, I know it sounds crazy, but like a subsequent minor amendment, because I do still think that the language is a little too vague in light of the varied opinions that we have. I do want to be clear that expressing a different opinion on an issue is not considered demeaning to someone or not considered disrespectful. And I think that the language still leaves a little bit of room for that to be misinterpreted and abused potentially. And so I do just want to, I don't know how my colleagues are going to vote on this. I still have some concerns about language that could be tightened to make sure that we are allowing all commissioners and the public to express themselves on the very important issues that we address without opening ourselves up to being accused of being disrespectful or demeaning because we have a different opinion. So that's my concern on it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing no further questions or comments, I move to adopt the amendment to the bylaws related to public comment and decorum. Second. I've moved and Commissioner Minor has seconded the motion to amend the bylaws. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, those in favor of adopting the amendment, please signal by saying aye. Please signal by saying nay if you oppose. Okay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Our next order of business will be reports and updates. We will begin with motions to fill vacancy in District Council 3, Commissioner Ruby Navarro.
Hello? Okay, great. Under state law, when there is a vacancy in an elected position in Chicago, the mayor has the power to fill the vacancy. But under city ordinance, when there is a vacancy for an elected district council position, the district council and the commission also play a role in filling the vacancy. Under Chicago Municipal Code Section 2-80-070, when there is a vacancy in a district council, the existing members of the district council have 30 days to nominate 3 candidates for the vacancy to the commission. The commission then has a total of 60 days from the creation of the vacancy to select one of these candidates to recommend to the mayor for appointment to the district council. Then the mayor chooses someone to fill the vacancy. Before proceeding to recommendations, the commission thanks all the candidates for applying to serve on their local district councils. For those we do not select for recommendation, We hope you'll stay involved in the work of the CCPSA. Okay. I move that the commission recommend that the mayor appoint Anthony Crawford to fill the district council for the third district vacancy.
Anthony Crawford was raised in the 3rd Police District. He serves as a beat facilitator, member of the District Area Council, and works with CAP's Office Youth Programming. He is dedicated to fostering a collaborative relationship between the community and law enforcement, with a shared goal of creating a safe and thriving environment for all.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Ruby Navarijo has moved to recommend that the mayor appoint Anthony Crawford to fill the vacancy on the 3rd District Council, and Commissioner Wortham has seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, we will move to a vote. Those in favor of adopting the motion to recommend that the mayor appoint nominee Anthony Crawford to fill the vacancy of 3rd District Council, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Signal by saying nay.
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 So seeing as there is a tie, the chair now has to take a vote, and I signal by saying aye in support of Anthony Crawford. Congratulations, Mr. Crawford. We will send your name to the mayor to consider selecting an appointment to the 3rd District Council vacancy. So our next order of business will be reports and updates. I will begin by discussing the COPA Chief Administrator search. So the COPA Chief Administrator, Andrea Kirsten, recently stepped down from her position. Her last day as Chief Administrator was February 28th. By law, the mayor has the power to select an interim Chief Administrator to lead COPA until a permanent Chief Administrator is selected, confirmed, and takes office. And by law, when there is a vacancy in the position of Chief Administrator of COPA, the commission is responsible for appointing the permanent Chief Administrator. The commission's selection of a Chief Administrator is subject to City Council approval. On March 25th, the commission hosted the first of 4 public hearings on the search for the next Chief Administrator. Next month, we will hold a virtual listening session. In May and June, we will host 2 additional listening sessions, one on the South Side and one on the West Side. At these hearings, commissioners will provide information about what COPA's functions, responsibilities, and jurisdictions are. Commissioners will then gather public comment on the following: what qualities the community would like in a new Chief Administrator, what priorities should be the focus of the new Chief Administrator, and any other considerations of how commissioners should assess candidates. These public hearings will take place prior to the evaluation of applications. For more details regarding the commission's role in selecting the COPA Chief Administrator, please visit our website. Are there any questions from the commission? Next, we have an update from Commissioners Wortham and Gottlieb on traffic stops.
Commissioner Terry, as we have described in previous meetings, more than a year ago, the independent monitor in the consent decree between the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois told the judge in that case that she thought traffic stops by CPD should be included in the consent decree. That would mean that changes to CPD's traffic stops policy would be made through a process laid out in the consent decree, and the new policies would be overseen by the independent monitor, Maggie Hickey. and the federal judge in the case, Judge Rebecca Pallmeyer. Additionally, training about the policy and implementation of the policy would be overseen by the independent monitor and Judge Pallmeyer if traffic stops do end up being included in the consent decree. The inclusion of traffic stops into the consent decree is not solely up to the city, which includes CCPSA and CPD. It will require the agreement of the Office of the Attorney General, a public hearing on the issue, and ultimately approval by the court. If traffic stops are not included in the consent decree, the commission would have the legal authority to work with the Chicago Police Department and to draft or review and approve traffic stops policy. So the commission's position has been that if traffic stops are included in the consent decree, the commission must continue to play a significant role in making the policy. That's why, as we have discussed in previous meetings, the commission has been working with CPD and the city's Department of Law on an agreement that describes how the commission would work on traffic stops if they are included in the consent decree. We now have an agreement that describes how the commission and CPD will work together through the consent decree process. So if traffic stops do end up going into the consent decree, these are the concepts we have discussed with CPD on the development of traffic stops policy. Commissioner Wortham.
All right, so some of this is probably going to be repetitive, but I'll just end where Commissioner Gottlieb, or start where Commissioner Gottlieb ended. And just really, we want to reiterate that because of the consent decree involvement with traffic stop policies and how we're trying to work together with the agreement that Commissioner Gottlieb just announced that we've been able to come to, the best way I think to think about it is there will be two phases. The first, which we have begun and will continue, where we start working on policy with the Chicago Police Department, the same way we traditionally work on policy with the Chicago Police Department. And that first phase will run through, I believe, late April. And at the end of that phase, if there is agreement, then there's agreement on one policy. If not, then it could be that the Chicago Police Department submits a policy, and then any feedback on said policy would also be submitted to the independent monitor and the Attorney General. I think the important thing for the public from our perspective at this point is to appreciate that obviously during the first phase, we've been having listening sessions, we've been coming here and trying to keep the public informed about that, getting your feedback on traffic stops. That feedback process won't stop in the second phase, even though it will be a second phase with a draft policy and or draft policy and CCPSA feedback. Okay, so that's what we're not gonna do. Okay, point of order, we're not gonna yell back and forth. Okay, yeah, so I mean, everything else I think is pretty repetitive of what Commissioner Gottlieb said, but I think the important part is we do appreciate the feedback. We've been having listening sessions. I know many of you have come. We encourage you to continue doing that. We have the survey up. We want to hear from all of the community from varied perspectives. So we can intend to continue that listening process and that feedback process in both phases of this traffic stop work. And I think that's all I have. If you would like to, sure.
So just also like, there will be, I mean, once at the point of, like there will be a draft policy posted at some point. So, so you should know that at the end of the first phase.
Thank you, Commissioner Gottlieb. And Wortham, yes. So now we have the miscellaneous, and I will turn it over to Commissioner Minor.
I do have something I want to mention in miscellaneous, if that's all right.
Yeah, you can continue. I also have something else.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. As you know, I'm on the working group for the Non-Citizen Advisory Council, and I wanted to update the public on something that I think you all should know. CPD updated the UNT visa policy special order, and that will be put into effect this week. The commission is looking at the policy and hope to have a further update for the community before our April meeting, as well as consulting with our NAC about what next steps can be and what role the CCPSA can take. I just wanted to mention that because I know that UNT visas are a vital form of victim services for non-citizens, and I think that this is an important update for the community to know. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner Navarro. Commissioner Minor.
Awesome. I have some unrelated miscellaneous business. I'm so excited for the opportunity to speak to you all. One of the things that I really want to take an opportunity to do is really audit some of the work that I have done on the commission. I made some commitments to you all on June 7th. That was when we had our first confirmation at Saint Sabina Church. And I just wanted to do a little bit of a recap of where we stand since those commitments. So if you all will allow me, I would love to take some of your time to talk about the work. And I also want to say the reason why I'm doing this recap is because my real goal is to share power with you all. So if you're interested in the work that I'm doing, if you're interested in providing some comments and feedbacks, you have some suggestions about what the next stage of this work could look like. We're getting close to the end of my first term, my first year and my second and my 2-year term. So I would love for us to continue to have those conversations. I also hear the beat of an African drum. I guess it's getting real, it's getting real. We connected to our ancestral roots up in here. I love it. So with that being said, I kind of talked a little bit about my commitments on June 7th. I'll pause. Thank you. So with that being said, some of the priorities that I mentioned on June 7th was reducing racial disparities in Chicago's crime clearance rates, addressing racial disparities in traffic stops, advocating for proactive protections for domestic violence survivors, exploring and implementing alternatives to traditional policing, building transparent, equitable relationships between the community, district councils, and the police. Regarding clearance rate, I engaged directly with Superintendent Snelling as the co-leader of the CPD Goals and Evaluation Working Group. I also remain deeply invested in CPD's workforce allocation study. This study will significantly improve clearance rates and response times through better workload and location management, 911 call analysis, and deep community engagement. I've also offered to represent CCPSA on the steering committee, and I commit to providing quarterly reports on the study's progress to the community. Again, I just want to go over some of those top lines. I know I don't have all the time, but I want to take my time. I also share my personal story at the last meeting about how I almost had a very bad incident downtown, but by the grace of God, I got out of a very dangerous situation. I called the police, but they never came. I was 16 years old, the same age as Kyla Love when she passed away. These experiences in our community cannot continue to plague our communities. And for that reason, I wanted to double down on my commitment to clearance rates, addressing clearance rates in our community. Regarding traffic stops, I already mentioned to you all my commitment. Again, I believe that I am an advocate of substantially restricting traffic stops for low-level equipment and traffic violations and the end of consent searches unless there is probable cause of a crime. I believe that ending these practices, officers will have substantially more resources to respond to our calls for service, walk their beats and get to know their community members, investigate more serious violations like driving under influence, reckless driving, street racing, street takeovers, hit and runs, and human or narcotics trafficking. And I also want to kind of double down on my commitment to survivors. I spearheaded the 2025 Victim Services Goal, which outlines 3 critical deliverables. First, the CPD will create a standardized support protocols through the Victim Services Unit, guaranteeing consistent and compassionate aid for all victims. And they also will implement a robust tracking system to improve case management and enable data-driven improvements in service deliveries. Finally, that CPD will use the measures, will measure the unit's effectiveness through a comprehensive end-of-the-year report that will talk a little bit about their referrals, outreach efforts, community service numbers, ensuring accountability, informing us on future strategies. That's all available on our website. Lastly, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about some of the engagement work that I have been doing. I've been meeting with the Community Service Coordination Center under CDPH, Office of Violence Prevention, to learn a little bit more about the work that they've been doing to support victims. I also, the staff right now, as a part of the commission, is helping me organize a special listening session with Gun Violence Survivor Leadership Network, a group of individuals who've been impacted by gun violence, who are working to create recommendations to CPD to improve victim services. In a realm of alternative response policing, I'm a loud supporter of the district council's work. They have a district council working group on alternative response. I'm really looking forward to working together and collaboratively to talk a little bit more about how we can do some alternative response recommendations on a citywide level. And lastly, I mean, again, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the church, so I know I can get a little bit windy. But again, I want to just say and end with this, that I am always available to talk a little bit more at length about the work that I'm doing, to continue to get us to better public safety outcomes. I also want to mention that I did not do all of this work alone. I'm grateful for my fellow commissioners, and the work that they're doing for us to collaboratively work together to achieve some of the goals that I have outlined at the beginning of my year. And again, I'm super excited for the work that I've been doing with you all, the district counselors that I've been doing one-on-ones with. I hope to continue. And I also want to mention our staff. I thank you for all the support that you're doing in our work. This doesn't happen without you all. With that being said, I will now transition to a close. No, you have some miscellaneous business? Oh, absolutely.
So Commissioner Minor's a tough act to follow, but at a special meeting last week, I gave a detailed explanation of where I stand on traffic stop policy. For those who are unable to attend and have not watched the video, I wanted to just make it crystal clear today where I stand. I unequivocally support the following. 1, substantially restricting the use of consent searches. 2, substantially restricting low-level stops. And 3, substantially restricting the use of pretextual stops. I'm only one vote, but I commit to only supporting a policy if it restricts these types of stops in a meaningful way.
That's good. Thank you so much for sharing that, Commissioner Gottlieb. With that being said, if you want to continue to connect with the commission, you can follow us on social media. Our Facebook is www.facebook.com/Chicago CCPSA. Or you can search Community Commission for Accountability and for Public Safety and Accountability. Our Instagram is at CCPSA_Chicago. Twitter is at CCPSA_Chicago as well. And YouTube is at Chicago CCPSA. That concludes my report.
The commission's next regular meeting will be Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Respect the chair. Period. Period. Respect the chair. This is a point of order. I am closing out the meeting. Respect the chair. If you want to have a conversation with me, I will still be here. I'm always here because if you all were looking for me, you can always find me. So thank you. The commission's next regular meeting will be Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 6:30 at the Pui Talk Center. Is there any other business before the commission? Go ahead.
You could check out we had a special meeting this past week for the stances. If you want to check our website, that posting should be available along with the meeting notes. So we did speak on this subject, at least I did, at the last meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. So are there any other questions?
I also just wanted to mention, I know a lot of folks is really curious about phase 2. I would love if we could possibly have some kind of commitment or get back to them in our next meeting to talk a little bit more about timeline once we have, those things solidified. I know that, and I know at the end of the day, a lot of those consent decree, discussions we are confidential because we're talking to the independent monitoring team. But as soon as they're publicly available, I would love if we could commit to.
I think we will. I think we've stated that whenever we can make information public, we will certainly make it public. So please stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.
So seeing none, I would like to thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope to see you on April 24th, and we hope you'll stay engaged and encourage people to join in this work. With there being no other business before the commission, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. And so I'm here for whoever wants to have a conversation.